What's up, y'all? I'm Gavin,
And I'm Josh.
and we're going to be getting into another video today talking about the NFL coaching carousel. We got a lot of juicy content. Breaking news, Robert Sala, DC for the 49ers, is going to be going to the Jets. I know that's your team, that's your guy. I'll let you start off with that.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So it's funny. We were actually talking about making this video before Sala was hired. We were about to make this video tonight, and as we were talking, we are kind of cooking. I got a text from a few friends and from my
Mm-hmm.
dad that we had hired Robert Sala because I told all of them yesterday. I was like, man, because when we first were bringing him in for that second interview, I was like, man, I think this is the guy. I think he's a culture changer, and this is the guy that can kind of help turn this team around. And yeah, I'm extremely excited. So, the details of the contract are not public yet, but with the current state of the Jets being not very good, you can assume it's a pretty long deal, and he has some pretty good job security there. And this is the best head coaching candidate out there. We were kind of discussing this. There's a couple of good ones, but I do believe Robert Sala was the best coach out there. And so many players have talked about how much they love this guy. I'll put a video of him on the screen right now. But he brings an energy this team has not had since Rex Ryan was there. Right? And Rex Ryan, for all of his flaws, the Jets had an identity under Rex Ryan.
They were winning with Rex Ryan, so
they were winning football games. They played tough. They played hard, and he is an absolute culture changer. And more breaking news: we just got this about 10 minutes ago. It is expected, and kind of people have been speculating this, that Robert Sala will bring 49ers passing game coordinator Mike LaFleur. I don't believe it's confirmed yet, but it is expected that Mike LaFleur will be joining him in New York to run the offense. And I think this is really good news because I think it was a PFF tweet I saw the other day. I'll try to find it and get it on screen. But the path to a good offense in today's NFL is either have an elite quarterback or have a Kyle Shanahan-led offense. And it is one of those two, and the Jets currently do not have one of them. And but adding
not
Robert
yet.
Saleh just might add another one. And yeah, not yet. Hopefully, we can solve that soon. But I remember talking with my buddies a few weeks ago whenever we lost that game. And if it's not clear already, yes, I'm a Jets fan. When we lost that, or when we, sorry, I say lost because we lost by winning that game to the Rams, or that was kind of the public perception, is that we really fucked up by winning that game.
Couldn't even tank right.
Couldn't even tank right. That was what all of social media was saying. And I remember saying, I was like, look, man, Trevor is the best prospect and we've seen in a long time. And yes, he's a great quarterback, but this does not matter. The quarterback does not matter, as we saw with Sam Darnold, if the coach is not right. And I absolutely think Robert Saleh is the right guy. And I might seem like a little energetic right now, and that's exactly what he makes me feel. I feel like the Jets have not had an energy in years because Todd Bowles, I think he's a good defensive mind, but he was a really soft-spoken, quiet guy. And same thing with Adam Gase. Like he was not a player's coach. The players did not want to fight for him and run through walls for him. And that's literally exactly what Robert Saleh makes you want to do. Watching him on the sideline, he's so energetic. The players feed off of him. They absolutely love him. If you talk to any player, Richard Sherman, I know, loves the guy. I believe it was Fred Warner came out the other day talking about how smart he was. And yeah, man, I think he's a perfect hire. I think that about
And
sums it up.
speaking of Sherman, I know you told me earlier that you said that he's expected to follow Saleh
Yeah,
to New York too. So that's Sherman. He's a vet. He's been there for a long
yeah,
time,
he's a
but
good
he's
leader.
basically like another coach. Like he
Yeah,
can probably transcend that secondary to another level as well.
exactly. And to kind of wrap up the Salah thing, I didn't want to talk about my guy too long, but to wrap up Salah, I would say that he's going to bring to the team. I've kind of talked about the energy, but what we see in Buffalo with Sean McDermott and what we've seen from the team Robert Saleh is coming from San Francisco, is that when you give one of these coaches, when you give them time to build it the right way, Jimmy Garoppolo, Josh Allen, who many thought out of college, the guy just sucked at football. When you give a good coach and a good leader time to build it the right way, the quarterback doesn't matter. And whether it's Sam Darnold going into the year, whether they decide to keep him, whether it's Zach Wilson, who fits a Kyle Shanahan scheme perfectly, whether it's Justin Fields, who's been one of the best prospects since he was in freaking high school, whether it's any of these guys, it doesn't matter if the coach is right. And that's what I've been saying the past few months. And I think the Jets just hit the nail. They hit a home run. They hit it out of the park in this one. And yeah, this is an absolutely amazing hire. And Yeah, that's about it for Sala. Is there anyone
And
else right now?
I just want to say, like, speaking of coaching in the NFL, like you hear all these stories. Oh, he's a great offensive mind. He's a great defensive mind. Like that doesn't necessarily matter in the NFL. You need a guy who players are going to get behind. And like Gase, you've heard all the stories how I mean the players didn't really like him. And
Yeah.
like Sala, you see these he gets those players pumped up. Man, he's just a guy that you can really look up to. And I think players are really going to respect him. I
Yeah.
think it's a great signing.
Yeah, star players. I mean, they wanted to go away from Adam Gase. Jarvis Landry left him. Jamal Adams left him. Like these guys do not like him, and it's the opposite.
And they got better too.
Yeah, and they get better mysteriously when they leave him. So
The Gase effect. That's enough to talk about Gase. We're giving him
yeah,
too much time
he doesn't deserve this time.
on the.
Next, I
All
wanted
right.
to sorry to cut you off a little bit there, but I did want to kind of swing into the job that I believe is the most desirable out there, and I kind of wanted to
First,
just
do we want to talk about all the vacancies that there are?
okay, yeah, that's a good idea.
Just let everyone know.
Yeah,
All right. So we got the chart. There's 7 vacancies: the Chargers, the Jags, the Jets. Well, not anymore. So no more Jets, but the Texans, the Lions, the Falcons, and the Eagles.
yep.
So I guess you want to talk about the most desirable right now.
Yeah, I'll just kind of go ahead and throw them out there. So I had the Jets as probably number 3 behind the Jaguars, who I don't want to dive too deep into it, but they also just hired Urban Meyer. I think that's another good hire of a guy who's a pretty good leader and a proven program changer. I think that's a pretty good hire that him and Trevor Lawrence. We could talk about them more later, but just to kind of briefly mention it, that is no longer a vacancy. Urban Meyer has been hired there. I think the Chargers are the most desirable, and that's what I was about to get into. Is the second best, the other candidate that I kind of wanted for the Jets if it wasn't going to be Robert Sala, and that was Brian Daboll. And I'm kind of mentioning him with the Chargers because he's been connected there a few times, and people are drawing a lot of parallels with Josh Allen and Justin Herbert in terms of Brian Daboll. The reason he's such a good candidate right now is because of what he did for Josh Allen in terms of developing him into a truly elite quarterback. And people are just wondering, like, Herbert was amazing this year. He was historic. When you team up a guy like Brian Daboll with Justin Herbert, with Keenan Allen, maybe add a Kyle Pitts or a young receiver at 13. I believe they pick at 13.
Mm.
And,
Yeah, they do.
When you pair these guys up, I'm not sure about their cap space. The $22 million in cap space. They have a defense coming back.
12.
Yeah, they have Joey Bosa coming back. He was kind of banged up this year. Still had a pretty solid year. Obviously, Derwin James missed the whole year. Melvin Ingram missed the whole year. This is a really stacked roster, and I think we both agreed on this one. You could kind of chime in for a bit here that this is the most desirable spot.
I know. Do you remember this? What was the stat? Like 7 or games that were decided by 7 less points. They were 2-7 or something. It was crazy. You see the Chiefs and the Steelers, and then all of them, those teams are doing crazy good. And then you just see the Chargers right there, they're right there. If they had those defensive players, what were you gonna say?
It was the undefeated Steelers at the time, 9-0. It was the 8-1 Chiefs, I believe, and it was the 2-7 Chargers. And so you usually chalk up those in terms of, by the way, if I wasn't clear enough there. It was so in terms of those were the only 3 teams in the league to not lose a game by more than 8 points. So every game they played in was 1 possession. And 2 of those teams are 8-1 and 9-0, and one of them was 2-7. And you usually chalk that up to luck, but when this is a consistent thing year over year, it was time for a coaching change because the clock management was just not good. And I think Anthony Lynn's a pretty respected coach and will probably have a job at some point. But the game management was just not good. He's better fit as an offensive or defensive coordinator. And I think if they bring in a guy like Brian Daboll to help develop Justin Herbert even more, this is a team that could be one of the biggest turnarounds in the entire league. More so than the Jets, more so than the Jags. I think the Chargers are the team to, they're adding a bunch of talent back. Like I said, those defensive guys that were injured. They have pretty good draft capital. And with a new coach and new management, I think this team will be pretty damn good next year.
Yeah, they have such a great foundation. The young quarterback, if they do get Daboll, and then they'll have Keenan Allen, and I mean you can throw Mike Williams in there. He's a good wide receiver too. And then you got, of course, Eckler.
Yeah.
That's a great foundation formula to build that quarterback and just build that offense up. But
yeah, they're definitely the most desirable. I think the one we kind of wanted to talk about that contrasts that situation, which is kind of weird, is the Texans. And we're going to go ahead and assume that Deshaun Watson does play there next year, which we don't know, which is even scarier because this is already not a great spot. We both agreed that this Texans job was one of the worst landing spots for a coach. There's no reason for a coach to want to go here. They're negative 21 million under the cap, which is 26th, and they had no draft capital. That is the most important thing, right? They traded like two firsts for Laramie Tunsil. The Dolphins are picking number 3 because of them. So, usually when you suck, you get a high pick, right, to get better. Well, not if you're the Texans, because you traded picks for freaking David Johnson and Laramie Tunsil, who Laramie Tunsil's a pretty good player. But you traded all your picks for these guys, and you let DeAndre Hopkins go out the door for aging running back. And this is not a good situation, man. And you have Deshaun Watson. That's the saving grace. You have a top 3 elite quarterback. But the Chargers have that too, and the Chargers don't have all the other things. So, I don't know. Was there anything you wanted to say about the Texans? Because
I mean, I know we probably all saw the clip of J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson at the last game as they're heading to the tunnel. They just both look defeated. Like, those are your two studs that you have, and they both look like they don't want to be there anymore.
Those are 2 franchise cornerstones, and like they're just being wasted.
I'd probably bet a big check that they're both not going to be there next year.
Yeah, I think Watt has been a guy that's been frequently discussed in trades because that team's just not getting it done. And
that's a guy you want. You want him to be successful. Watt's a likable guy. I want him to go somewhere else. But
yeah, it'll be interesting. Another one that we can just kind of talk about briefly because that's kind of what all they deserve is the Lions. The problem with the Lions, I would say, they only have. I'm looking at our notes here. I was expecting them to at least have some cap space. I was wrong. They have $3 million in cap, which is 18th. They have an aging veteran quarterback in Matthew Stafford, who it hasn't been his fault what's going on, but his contract's not great. I know it's not ideal to be traded either, and really with the Lions, we talk about all the other teams in terms of their future assets and their organization and stuff. The Lions just have no talent right now. Kenny Galladay is one of the best players. He's likely gone. It seems that the relationship.
Marvin Jones,
also a free agent. Likely, I think he said that he wants to play for a contender. So Marvin Jones might be gone. Like I said, Galladay. I think the relationship with the front office is kind of fractured. It seems at this point. Had one of those weird Jalen Ramsey back situations where he had an injury and he kind of just sat out the whole year.
I'm sure it wasn't all the injury.
Yeah, for sure. I agree there. This is just a team that I hate to say it because, I'm a Jets fan, so I've been there, Lions fans. But this team just doesn't have any real talent right now. I know DeAndre Swift's a great player. Stafford's still a pretty good quarterback. You have some interesting pieces on defense. I know Jeff Okudah kind of had an injury-ridden rookie year, but he's obviously a really talented guy. But Matt Patricia and I forgot I'm blanking on their GM's name, but another New England guy. I think it's Bob Quinn. But Matt Patricia and their GM just totally left this team in the freaking tank, which sucks. But
I feel like they've been there for a while too.
Yeah.
If the tough. Mr. Irrelevant pick in the draft was a team, it would be the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, for sure, man.
They're awful.
It sucks, but I'm not sure how you fix this team. I think we both would agree that along with the Texans, this is the least desirable job.
I think I would probably say the Eagles are the least desirable job.
Yeah. That's a good one to talk about.
After week 17, the tanking that they did, everybody hates them. Everyone hates them. I mean, everyone. I don't know if you want to say tank at the end of the season, but it was so blatant. Prime time, taking out your quarterback, and then speaking of the quarterback, they have so many problems at quarterback. Is it Wentz? Is it going to be Hurts? Peterson gone.
With Wentz's contract, and Hurts played well. Hurts doesn't want to sit on the bench, so it's an absolute
similar to the Texans with their vets. Ertz and Kelsey. I'm sure everyone saw the picture of Ertz, Kelsey, and Wentz on the field for their most likely probably their final game together. They just look defeated. Yeah, but probably go ahead.
I was gonna say it's a mess over there. I agree. I kind of forgot about them because I think it's pretty unexpected that Doug Peterson was fired. I think you would agree with me there. that I believe we mentioned earlier in the season. We were saying like, is this a Doug Peterson problem or is this a Carson Wentz problem? And I think we both agreed it was more of a Carson Wentz thing because
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to believe that Doug Peterson led this team to success over 2 years and was kind of covering up for Wentz's deficiencies than than Carson Wentz was an elite quarterback for 2 years, and then Doug Peterson decided to stop being good at coaching football. Like, I guess
Yeah.
you could say it both
Like
ways.
we saw, like they beat the Saints with Jalen Hurts after Carson Wentz stunk it up for
Yeah,
3 months. Like they showed that they could win.
yeah, and we're kind of
But
implying it
I would
here.
say,
But the reason Peterson was fired, it's been reported, is that simply put, Peterson wanted to go with Jalen Hurts. Ownership has a ton of money tied to Carson Wentz, obviously, and Jeffrey Lurie wanted to go with Carson Wentz, and it was kind of a pick me or pick him situation, and they picked Carson Wentz. And this team has no cap space. Let me see. I don't know if you know off the top of your head how much
Yeah.
they had.
it's this is not a typo. According to Spot Track, they are negative $63 million in cap, which is
Yeah.
31st, and a big chunk of that goes to Carson Wentz. But like that's just no. I don't want to go
it's
there
an
if I'm a
awful
head coach.
It's a really bad situation in terms of cap space, which I generally believe that you see teams like the Saints, who I assume are 32nd, who are like negative 100 million.
Yeah,
cap.
they're worse. Yeah.
You see teams like the Saints kind of and the Rams as well. They do a really good job of navigating around that cap. I like to jokingly say that the cap is a myth, but when you're in deep shit when you're that deep below the cap and you don't have a bunch of draft capital because you managed to win a couple games. You traded picks for Darius Slay, and this team it doesn't have an abundance of draft capital to go get like a solution. And I guess the problem with them is, unlike with the Jets, where you could say, okay, you improve the quarterback, you improve the coach, you got a way better team. Unlike with the Falcons, where you say, okay, you have some talent, maybe you bring in a new guy, and you have a pretty good football team. Unlike with the Eagles, there's not an obvious solution here because nobody knows, is Carson Wentz the guy? Is Jalen Hurts the guy? Is Doug Peterson the problem? Is Carson Wentz the problem? Was the beaten up offensive line the problem? Like, what is the issue here? And nobody really knows. And this is not
As a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, I love it.
Yeah.
I love watching that team burn.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about because a year ago it was not. I wouldn't even say it's not crazy talk. I would say it was pretty. The general consensus was that the Philadelphia Eagles are perennial playoff contenders and a team that can go to the Super Bowl with a really good offensive line, an elite quarterback, and a pretty damn good head coach. And a year later is like, what the hell happened? And man, it's awful. It's really bad.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, those were our three least desirable landing spots. You want to talk about the guys that we think are probably the best solutions to fill in those spots?
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of had a little list of all the head coaching candidates, and I was gonna say maybe like I could read them and you could say what you think, and briefly.
Yeah.
And let's see where they go because some of these guys are like very highly desired, like Robert Sala, and some of the jobs are like it's gonna be pretty hard to get a really good head coach if you're the Lions or something like that. But so Doug Peterson, I don't think I wanted to chime in on this one. I don't think he's coaching this year. From what I've seen, it seems like he's going to take a break. It seems like he's kind of apathetic.
Mike McCarthy off here.
Yeah, he seems like he's kind of apathetic to what happened to him. I think the quote was, he's like, "Nah, I'm good with it," or something like that. Like someone reached out to him and was like, "Hey, like sorry you got fired," and he's like, "Nah, man, like." Like it sounded like a guy who was basically forced out of a situation he no longer wanted to be a part of anyway. So it seems like he's not going to have a job. We just discussed Robert Sala. What do you think of Urban Meyer to Jacksonville?
I'm not the biggest fan of college coaches transitioning to the NFL just because I think it's so different. Like, I think in college, the talent level, the deviation is a lot bigger than the NFL. Everyone in the NFL is a stud, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In college, I feel like he benefited from getting all the 5 stars and stuff. So I think he'll probably struggle a little bit in the NFL. We'll see. I could be completely wrong. This could look like a big cold take in a year or two, but
I want to add in something here
with
Urban. So what do you think of Scott Linehan being their offensive coordinator? For those of you that don't know, Cowboys' old offensive coordinator, universally not really liked amongst Cowboys fans.
Defensive teams would be able to call out the play before the snap on most plays with Scott Linehan, is what was reported. So I don't think that's the guy you want developing Trevor Lawrence, That is, if they draft him, most likely will. So, man, it's just I don't like it. I don't like that situation for them much at all. But they're the Jags. They'll, they usually suck. So
Yeah.
it'll be a Jags move.
We'll see. They do have a lot of draft capital and they have a lot of cap space, and it's theoretically a pretty good situation. I agree. I'm generally less bullish on the Meyer hire than I'd say most people are. I think the consensus is like, oh my God, Urban Meyer, this is a slam dunk. I think he's okay. I think he's a good leader. He's a good. He's multiple times he's turned over programs and turned them into winners. So I will say that about him. But I agree. Like the transition isn't always so easy to the NFL. So we'll have to see. And I think I saw a tweet earlier mentioning that like what's going to happen when these guys lose 3 games in a row? Because Urban Meyer's never done that. Like I don't know about literally, but Urban Meyer doesn't lose football games. He goes to Ohio State and Florida where they lose 2 games a year, not 8 games in a season.
Maybe, if that.
Yeah, not 8 to 12 games in a season. So what is going to happen when adversity hits? That's what I want to know. And I guess we'll find out.
Arguably one of the greatest coaches of all time, Nick Saban. He transitioned to the Dolphins quite a while back, and he didn't look like he belonged. And some coaches are just meant to coach in college. Some are meant to coach in the pros. And we'll see when Urban Meyer gets to the Jags if that's confirmed.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, what do you think of Joe Brady? Just any thoughts on him in particular?
Yeah, similar to the college deal. I think he's one of those offensive minds we talked about earlier with Gase. I don't think he's as bad as Gase. I think Gase is probably carried by Peyton Manning, but enough about Gase. Joe Brady, he showed made Joe Burrow. I wouldn't say made Joe Burrow, but he definitely
made that offense
is what made the offense one of the historically great offenses in college football. And then he went to the Panthers, and they lit it up through the air pretty well this year too with Samuel and Anderson, and
which is Teddy Bridgewater's not
which isn't that great,
and he made them look pretty good. I believe they had 3,000-yard player, or actually, I'm sorry, I think it's 4,000-yard from scrimmage players with Mike Davis, Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson, and DJ Moore. Those are all pretty good players, so I don't want to not give them enough credit. But I will say on Joe Brady that I'm generally more in favor of hiring a good leader and a CEO type coach. That's why I was pretty happy with the Robert Sala hire. But Joe Brady is universally seen as one of the smartest football minds out there. He's young. If there's any guy to compare to Sean McVay, this is the one, because he's universally seen as extremely smart. And I mean, I think we were discussing earlier, in 3 years he went from graduate assistant to college offensive coordinator to college offensive or NFL offensive coordinator, and then all of a sudden he's going to be an NFL head coach. So we'll see where he goes. I think if he goes somewhere like Atlanta where they have a lot of talent, they could do some pretty good things with the offense of the ball. But we'll see.
Yeah, but I think I would question his ability to lead so far because Coach O at LSU. I mean, that's their leader. That's their big guy. He didn't have to fill that role, or Brady didn't have to fill that role. And I mean, he's so young. I would question if those vets. I'm sure he's gonna have to earn their respect wherever he goes. But I could see it going both ways. I like him better than Urban Meyer, but not as good as Sala.
Yeah. So we discussed Brian Daboll earlier. Arthur Smith is one for the Titans that I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. What's up, guys? Sorry about the interruption, but we actually had a friend come over in the middle of the podcast. And it actually works out perfectly because as I was editing this the next day after we recorded, it is the 15th today, I believe, Arthur Smith has actually just been hired to be the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Kind of blanked there for a little bit. A lot of hires recently and thinking about a lot of stuff. But he was hired today to be the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And I just kind of wanted to give my initial reaction to that because, didn't want to put out a video that was outdated already before it was even uploaded. So I do think Arthur is a good offensive mind. We were kind of discussing it before the cut. But I do think Arthur is a good offensive coach. I think what he's done with Ryan Tannehill over the last 2 years after everyone thought Tannehill was just dust, he's revived his career and he's made the guy $80 million. This offense as a whole, not just Ryan Tannehill, with A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, Derrick Henry, this offense as a whole has been, I feel kind of slept on because, for the first few weeks of it last year, people are okay, when is this going to stop, right? When is this Ryan Tannehill thing going to stop? When are they going to regress? What's going on here? And turns out it was just a real thing because over the last 2 years, I believe I saw a tweet earlier by PFF, they have scored the most touchdowns in the league the last 2 years. So this has been I mean, one of the most efficient offenses in the league under Ryan Tannehill and Arthur Smith. One of the best play-action passing teams in the league, partially due to Derrick Henry, but also due to Ryan Tannehill and also due to the scheming of things. And I think overall Arthur is a really good offensive mind out of all the gurus. I know we were discussing Joe Brady. I think Arthur's up there as a guy that has shown he can run an offense and scheme up plays at a very high level. I'm not sure about the leadership part, but I actually think specifically talking about the landing spot, Atlanta, I do think that's a great spot for him because Arthur Blank, their owner, is one of the best owners in the league. He's very highly regarded. He's going to give the guy time, right? Like, some of these coaches, like historically Cleveland, the Jets, etc., they don't give their coaches enough time. But Arthur Blank's going to give him time to build it the right way. And I think that's important for him because this gives him time to grow as a leader, right? As a head coach and not just an offensive mind, not just the guy that runs the offense. It gives him time to grow as a head coach over the next few years because he is going to have some time to build it the right way, especially with the current state of the roster. But I do think Atlanta's a pretty good landing spot for him. Overall, I'd probably give it like a B+. I think he's a great offensive mind and should be able to lead them to continued success on the offensive side of the ball. But it's kind of yet to be seen how great of a leader he is, and if he's going to have any roster control, how is he going to build that roster? Because there's a lot of holes. And whether or not holes, there are guys like Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, who are kind of past their prime and on their way out. You have some young talent. You have A.J. Terrell on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, Calvin Ridley had a great year. But overall, it's definitely not a perfect roster. So we'll see kind of how he turns that around. But that's about it. Just kind of wanted to give my initial thoughts on him. That's really about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know both Gavin and I really wanted to talk about it. It's just something we've been talking about it amongst ourselves. So we wanted to put out a video about the 2021 coaching carousel. It's pretty much complete. With Urban Meyer, to round it up, Urban Meyer going to Jacksonville, Robert Sala going to the Jets. I believe the Lions actually today, while I was editing this is kind of minor news as well because it's the Lions. But I believe the Lions are hiring the Saints assistant head coach. I want to say his name is Dan Campbell. Not too sure. But I believe the Lions might have their guy. The Texans still not sure. Eagles not sure. But a lot of these teams, we just talked about Arthur Smith. Not sure if Joe Brady's going to have a job or not. But it's kind of, in over just like a day and a half really since we recorded that video, everything's went from no one was hired to this whole carousel seems to be kind of coming to an end. And it'll be something really interesting to talk about in the offseason, the impacts these coaches have on the teams and 2021. But I appreciate you guys watching. Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Both mine and Gavin's will be in the description. And y'all have a great day. See ya.